How do I increase my low driver rating? Now, this is a common question that happens, and it's really important because if you don't have a rating consistently over 4.6, you'll be removed from the platform and you'll have a suspension, and you're gonna have to go through all this stuff to get back into the platform. And so this is extremely important. And I hope as a driver, because it's a service industry, that you take pride in your rating. If you get a low rating, it's not something to be like, well, you know what, as long as I get paid, right? Like, to take pride in your rating. Like, I've never had a low rating, and so it's hard for me to understand. But a couple of things to factor. First, you got to identify why is your rating going lower before you can understand how to increase your low driver rating. Perhaps you're just new. Perhaps you just drove just a handful of rides and just one bad rating. Even if it's a bunk rating, it shouldn't be low. They were drunk or they made a mistake and it drops it significantly. Maybe it's just that. Maybe you're doing great and that was just a fluke, because every driver is going to get a weird random low rating. And it could be just someone just says, you know what, I never get 5-star ratings. I've met people who don't get 5-star ratings unless they're just like blown away. In their mindset, a 5-star is like, this is the greatest ride I've ever had in my life. And so unless you fit that, even if you're great and they think you're great, they're gonna give you a 4-star, and that's gonna hurt your rating. But outside of those situations, you need to first identify what's wrong. And often when people give you a low rating, they're gonna give you a reason why. It's gonna explain, hey, this person smelled, or this thing wasn't clean, or they get lost. You know, the number one reason why people get low ratings is when people have poor navigation, because fundamentally that is what you're being paid to do, to get someone from A to B. So if you have issues driving, man, practice that. Make sure you're using good apps, whether it's Google Maps or Waze. Make sure you sit at home and just play with them so you know them fluently. Make sure you know if you're doing any habits that are causing the passenger to feel unsafe. You know, maybe you're doing something as silly and dumb as FaceTiming someone while you're driving, which that happened to me. Someone FaceTimed their friend and they were deaf, and so they were signing in the midst of driving in a blizzard. Can you imagine that? But people will do that and they'll be like, I don't know why I get low ratings. I can't believe it. I'm such a great driver. So try to identify, look at the app feedback. Now, what if you do not have any app feedback and you have no clue? Well, I talk to friends, even maybe talk to family members who've ridden in the car. I know one close family member that I have who's driving, and I said, hey, listen, I've ridden with you before. Make sure you're smooth on the brakes, because this person, when I ride with them, they're like the whole time. And I just knew the moment they told me they're gonna do Uber and Lyft, I'm like, man, some passengers are gonna feel really sick. So maybe ask a good friend or family member who's ridden with you, and they can give you feedback on your driving. Or maybe when you drive and you're really slow when you talk. And so, but when you're not talking, you're driving like a normal person. But when you talk, you're just like super slow, and the person's like, "Hey, listen, you're charging me more for my time because you're so slow." So all these different things can be factors. And I think the final advice I would give is sit and reflect upon your day. Sit back and think about your shift and go over it in your head and look at your different reviews and your ratings and try to piece together areas that you can improve. And the more you do that, and the more you go to Ridester.com and use all the resources, our videos, there's tons of free content. I guarantee you're gonna be able to increase your rating if you're teachable and you're willing to implement all the great things that we're giving you here.